It's the devastating news that families and friends of the 29 trapped miners had feared. 5 days after an explosion ripped through the Pike River mine on New Zealand's South Island, today another more powerful blast led authorities to conclude that there would be no survivors. The ABC's Connor Duffy has been in the town of Greymouth all week and he joins me live now. Connor Duffy, this is the news everyone was dreading.
That's right, Tracy. I wish there was better news tonight, but tonight I'm in a town and indeed a nation that's in mourning. As you mentioned, for the last 5 days, the families have had an agonising time clinging to every snippet of information in the hope that some of the men down there might be alive and be waiting to be rescued. Now, that psychological torture continued for them right up until the instant they heard the news today. They gathered for their regular briefing just a few metres from where I am now this afternoon, and they were initially told that the situation had been looking okay and that rescuers were in position where they could finally enter the mine. And I understand the room broke out into applause. Then they were delivered the hammer blow. The mine chief, Peter Whittle, told them that a second, much larger explosion had ripped through the mine at about 2:30 New Zealand time this afternoon and that no one could have survived it. It was just devastating to see the families leaving that briefing. It was really heartbreaking. There were tears and people clinging to each other for support. And over the last 5 days, we've gotten to know a little bit about these men, and some of the stories are incredibly sad. There was 25-year-old Joshua Yufa from Australia. He has a pregnant girlfriend here and had been applying for jobs to return home to Australia and be with his family. There's a young Scottish man who was due to be wed in just a few weeks, and I imagine each of those 29 men had a similar story, and there'll be heartbreak for their families in New Zealand and all around the world tonight.
Now, Connor, what is the plan from here? Because obviously families are hoping that the bodies of their loved ones can be retrieved from the mine.
That's right. There's 65 men still up on the surface, 18 of them, from New South Wales. What had been a rescue mission will now be a retrieval mission, and authorities are continuing to carry out tests on the gas and the situation down in the mine. But my understanding is that it's still incredibly unstable down there, and there is a risk of a third explosion. Now, after all this heartache, they won't want to put men down there and risk their lives. It's unclear. There's varying opinions about how long it could take, but my understanding is it could be some time, and one of the fathers of one of the men who were lost today expressed his fears that it may never happen. But authorities have certainly pledged to do their best to try and at least give the families that comfort of being able to bury their loved ones.
In terms of trying to find out exactly what went wrong, the Prime Minister, the New Zealand Prime Minister, has now announced at least one inquiry.
That's right. He's going to meet with his cabinet on Monday and try and set up the terms of that inquiry, and my understanding is that some of the key focuses will be on exactly what ignited the original blast and how the situation had got to the point where so much gas had been let down there. The rescue operation itself, or the operation to try and find the men alive, has come under some criticism over the past few days in terms of the delays, but certainly authorities would seem to be somewhat vindicated in their approach given the huge explosion today and the obvious risk in sending more men down into that incredibly dangerous situation.
And Connor, this must be quite a contrast to what you experienced in Chile not so long ago when you were there for what was a successful mine rescue.
It is, Tracy. The contrast is just so sharp. In Chile, there was incredible ecstasy and exuberance from the families that after 7 weeks, they were finally reunited with their loved ones. And watching the heartbreak of the families coming out today was the exact opposite. There'll be parents who are burying children, wives who will never see their husbands again, and brothers and sisters who will be preparing for Christmas without their loved ones. So right across the world, people are sending tributes and sympathies, and I really think it'll take some time for the full impact of this to sink in.
Connor Duffy, thank you for speaking to us.
Thanks, Tracy.